what an honor it is to be here with you, Madam President. If I may, because we know each other, I'm going to quickly switch to Halla. But you missed yesterday, Halla, and it was quite an amazing opening. And I want to start by some of the reflections that we heard yesterday and bring them into how we know each other, and also I know your passion. So some of the reflections yesterday when we opened the session actually with the Wellbeing Economy Alliance was to think through different sectors and what different parts of society could do to enhance and integrate well-being into everything that they do. We started working together when you were leading actually the B team. And I know that you've been championing business voices, but also government voices in trying to build bridges. You also, and we heard yesterday, have launched this unbelievable initiative called the Nights of Love, and which clearly for you means that you want as many champions to hack love back into society. So I guess my question to you is how do we start to really enhance the incredible leadership that we see in Iceland on well-being and bring it into those different communities?
Well, good morning, everyone. It's such an honor to be with you. I wish I could have been with you yesterday, but I was traveling and I just came home last night. And it's so wonderful to be with a good friend and a fellow traveler here today. And I actually think this is probably a room full of fellow travelers, or you wouldn't be here. I actually think we really need to rethink leadership at this moment in time, both from an individual level. I think this is a time where we need to really ask ourselves, who are we choosing to be at a time like no other for humanity? It is an individual decision that we all have to grapple with. And I firmly believe in a formula for leadership that it goes like this. It's inside of every one of us, and it is not the role or the platform or the position we hold. It is who we choose to be and what we choose to do at a time like this. So that's part of the conversation we need to have. And then the rethink on leadership in general is that we cannot approach it anymore in the silos that we have been approaching it in. Private sector in one silo, government in another silo, civil society and the third sector in another silo, citizens and young people in another silos. We need bridge builders, and we really need to all think about leadership as much more systemic than we have before. Where collaboration becomes sort of the key muscle along with courage and an awful lot of humility, because we have brought the world to this dire time for humanity by working in separation from ourselves, from each other, from the different sectors of society. So now we need to come together like never before. And the problem we have, Sandrine, is that no one teaches us to do this. Business school doesn't teach us to lead in this way. Public administration education doesn't teach us to lead in this way. Elementary schools or schools up, they don't really teach us to work with ourselves. And so we're sort of raised to leadership within a silo, and like the planet and people are somehow outside of ourselves, and the way forward, even peace, is somehow outside of ourselves, whereas all of this is really within ourselves. And so I'm sure Jude and I will go into this more, and I don't want to go too deep on the spiritual side for those who might not want to track along there, but the way out for humanity right now is in.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that resonates very much with the conversations that we had yesterday and that many of us in the broader well-being community are having. And you and I were just talking about how we bridge that gap between the inner development and the outer development. And what does that mean? What are the different leverage points? Can you give us some of those kind of key areas where we could start to hack that humanity and that love, even at the broader systemic level? We've both worked actually in looking at shifting the financial system, shifting business models. You spoke of universities. Yesterday we had a private session on how do we actually bring well-being within educational programs here in Iceland, but also bring in exchanges with other universities. What would those key leverage points be for you as to how we bring the inner out and the outer in?
I think this is, and I will sit here and humbly say, I don't believe I have all the answers, but I have a lot of questions. And I think maybe that's also a good place for all of us to start in leadership. I don't think the world is in need of more leaders who think they have all the answers. Those who show up in that way right now, and we have plenty of powerful and strong examples of that, are, if they had the answers, we wouldn't be in this position. So clearly we have to start by asking some questions and having some more meaningful conversations across these divides. But one of the most important transitions that I think needs to happen, in addition to us becoming curious again about how we can collaborate and find better ways forward, is to drop more from our head to our hearts. And because courage, coer is the Latin name or the French name for heart, and courage is what's missing right now. And we are not going to be able to come in with the new. We can't co-create it or collaborate on the new only by thinking our way through it. We have to sort of really unlock something that is within all of us, and that is, what do we deeply care about? And that's going to be unlocked from a different position inside of our intelligences than anything else. So I would start there. And one of the things I learned in my prior role, Sandrine, is when I had the honor in 2018 to take over as CEO of the B team, which is very much business leaders and NGO leaders and former heads of states coming together to try to come up with a better way forward for people and planet and our economies, because we also need them to function, is that I didn't unlock anything special in them by just talking through all the data and science. Not to say that facts and science don't matter, and disinformation and misinformation is wreaking a havoc on our on mental health, on our societal health, on our democratic health right now. So facts and science matter, and we need to use our heads. But it wasn't until I sort of was able to create experiences where they could unlock a different part of themselves that they really unlocked the courage to do something beyond what they thought they could do when they were sort of stuck in their heads. So I think this is a very important part, and the way I have found to be most powerful to unlock courage inside of us and inside of our systems is both to convene people who see things differently, so really have the whole system in the room ideally, and really bridge the generational gap. Because it is so, I wish I had maybe $1 million for every daddy that's told me a story about a daughter and how she changed him. A daddy who is a leader in business or government who has a young daughter who changed him or her, more often him. Not because I need the $1 million or the many $1 million, because we could probably fund world peace with the money I could get from that, because that's how often our children actually help us become better human beings. And so intergenerational dialogue and design is key, which is why I'm very happy that we have so many young leaders here with us today. And sameness is probably, fear and sameness are probably the two cancers in society right now. We are too fearful, and we cannot unlock the best of ourselves when we let fear sort of take over our mental and heart space. And sameness, when we only surround ourselves with people who don't challenge us, don't see things in a different way than us, then we continue to do the same things and expect a new outcome. And Einstein called that insanity, and frankly, it is insanity. And we have such deep divides now that we need bridge builders, which is why I might use this opportunity to say I am glad that the new Pope is known to be a bridge builder. So irrespective of what religion or faith we hold, I think it's good when we have someone on a moral leadership platform who prides himself or is known for being a bridge builder. And that's something that I try really hard to do in my role, to be a bridge builder, to be curious, to unlock courage in myself and others by engaging with other parts than just the rational, and to find communities of courage where we share the same values but are different in the way we see our challenges and the solutions in every other way.
I love the way you've brought in the Pope, actually. And yesterday we were talking about different stories of some of us who have had the incredible honor of meeting Pope Francis. And I think many have wondered, is this new Pope going to be a figurehead, another figurehead of the American voice that we're seeing right now, or is it going to be a new American voice? And I think some of us are coming to the conclusion, including myself, that this is a potential new American voice that is going to counter that current voice of fear and of anger and of hatred. If we look at voices and your incredible work of championing new voices and your tour that you've just done, which you were explaining to me, the Royal Tour in Sweden, you've been across Scandinavia. The Scandinavians have always had both been top on the happiness index and also are very much promoting Iceland, Finland, the well-being economy. How do you see the Scandinavian alliance in bringing forward this voice of hope and solidarity and a different way forward than the profit, power, hatred that we're seeing from some parts of the world?
I actually, there is a sort of a practical reason for why I've been on this royal visit to Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. This is something that a new president in Iceland always does in the first year, and they invite you. But there is also a deeper reason for me why I've really put a lot of effort into these visits and brought many different delegations along to build bridges, because I think the Nordics have a very unique role in the world right now. And collectively, if you combine the power of the Nordics, we are G11, the 11th biggest economy in the world. So that's power. But we think about ourselves as small countries, each one of us, and certainly Iceland is, and the others are too, if you look at us from large economies. But think about that. That's a sizable economy to be reckoned with. And we have built all of our progress based on two very important principles, in my opinion, and I think the world has enjoyed progress based on those principles, and that is peace and peaceful societies, and sort of everybody matters, and we need to collaborate to sort of build these happy societies. So there's sort of a oneness, if you will, and so I will say with all humbleness, because the Nordics are still individually small countries, together we can be a powerhouse and a lighthouse in a world that is sorely lacking one, because we enjoy well-being, because we have built societies on the fundamental principle that every single person matters and deserves to thrive, and that we are stronger together than each one going it alone. And those are principles that I think we really need to hear more of and see more of. And it's really served us well. We're among the highest GDP in the world, the happiness, the well-being. We rank among the top countries on all of those fronts. So together we would honestly be invincible with this model. And I think we're looking for a new model. I don't think we have it perfect, not in Iceland or any Nordic country or across the Nordic. So we still have a lot to learn and develop. But I think we might be a lighthouse in a world that seems to be lost and looking for a way out without knowing how to go in, if I allow myself to offer that as a thought.
I love the analogy of a lighthouse, and I really think we need more lighthouses. So yes. I think all of us appreciate the Nordic lighthouse. And maybe building on that also, because the Nordics have always been so strong around female leadership and a feminine way, which it does not mean a feminist way necessarily, but a way that brings in more values, both social and environmental, and as you say, very egalitarian. We're both part of a group called the Dandelions, which was started by Mary Robinson, and you have been championing female leadership for quite some time. And now, obviously, you're part of a continuum within the Icelandic culture of having women who are at the helm, which is quite fantastic. What do you feel is important as you leave this room and as you continue your journey in all of your different conversations with regard to female leadership? And again, not just the fact that this is not about quotas. This is about bringing in a feminine, more shift from power-driven politics and a heart-driven, soul-driven politics leadership. I will be asking at the end of the day, when we close the session, the panelists to give us some words of what to do next. What would be your wisdom in terms of what we need to do next in terms of bringing forward the well-being economy and really bringing it out to the rest of the world?
I would love to have the rest of the day to talk about the answer to this question, and I hope you all use the time here together to do that. But I will offer an invitation, because Iceland enjoys a world record in women in leadership positions right now, because women 50 years ago in Iceland decided to take the day off. They decided to do no work that day, and nothing worked in Iceland. And you might think it's cruel that children didn't eat because men didn't cook back then, but children didn't eat that much. They said hot dogs. They sold out in Iceland because that was the only thing men knew how to cook back then.
I hear the hot dog stand, by the way, here. Yes. Dora told me is very popular.
It's very popular. I recommend it. But something really important happened then. We saw that nothing works when women are not at work, and we started a transformation that's led us to now for 15 years lead the world in closing the gender gap. I also want us to close the generational gaps and the global gaps. I think there are so many gaps that we need to, and of course the incredible inequality gaps that we have. There are many, many gaps we need to close, and I've been passionate about that for a long time. But this year, thinking of the 50th anniversary of that event, and the fact that the United Nations are 80 years old, it's 30 years since women gathered in Beijing with a powerful, compelling vision. It's an important year, and we are at this not so great place for humanity. I have been advocating for that we stand still in Iceland and beyond, if you'd like to join us, as women did back in 1975, that we actually come together across the gender gap, inviting men and boys to join us, the generational gaps, that we wear white or light colors, which is typically my color. Everything was dirty for my trip, so hence the bright colors here today. But
from an Icelandic designer.
From an Icelandic designer. You will see it from Dora too. Always women designers, and whenever I can. But we stand still, in silence, for 5 minutes, in the center of Reykjavik, and ideally everywhere, and just try to connect with ourselves and each other, to stand for peace and shared prosperity, to stand for the world we want, and not just get angry. And I think we need a different energetic intervention in the world. And I am certainly going to advocate for all of us women in leadership here in Iceland to be there from all walks, from the bottoms up, and all ages and all genders, and we come together. And I know some powerful international leaders who want to be here to join us. And I know some others who want to organize a stand still where they are. And this is an invitation for you. We can all stand still together in oneness, in a different energy than we've had, and I think that could truly change the world. And again, this might sound so revolutionary for a president to say, and I'm probably going to get some hits from some people about saying that, but think about how we've been going about trying to change the world with anger and fear and data that almost makes us lose sleep, and so we kind of lost our well-being in the way we've been approaching change. Isn't it worth just trying a different kind of an intervention and a different kind of a togetherness? I see this, and when I go to bed at night, this is what I see. And so October 24th, 2025, join us in whatever way you can. Let's stand still, let's do 5 minutes of silence, let's wear light colors and think about the future we want, and not about the present that we're fighting.
Thank you.